We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe, but not today. Today we'll be talking about me. If you've ever wanted to know how crazy I am for doing this thing, for doing this sort of podcast after hours while having this kind of day job, this will give you a little bit of insight of what I do. I'm an IT professional during the day. My company is called 3Nom. The person interviewing me is Mariana, and she will be going through, she'll be asking me some questions about tech mostly, but we dip into The Walking Dead every now and again, and we talk about basically my personal work ethic, some philosophy, what I listen to during the day, to keep myself sharp, Walking Dead podcasts or news articles and stuff like that. So so that's what I'll be doing. A couple of things before I get the podcast started, and it's a short podcast. It's about 30 minutes long only. Great, short and sweet, gets to the point. One, if you haven't submitted your Ultimate Fan video, I'm giving you a soft deadline of 3 a.m. Monday morning. What am I talking about? Well, Talking Dead has kind of shit the bed on their Ultimate Fan competition, and what I'm trying to do is revive that. And not only that, opening up the fan submissions around the world. We already have some people that have submitted their fan submissions in the last few days. The first one being, obviously, Rachel, but Linda Athens. We have a new follower who just, Rachel I think it is, who posted their fan submission. And basically what it is, it's the same as the Talking Dead Ultimate Fan competition, except open up throughout the world. And it basically, you submit a video saying why you are the Ultimate Fan. And that is open-ended for a reason, because it allows you to be creative and allows you to subjectively sway the audience in your favor. I know most of you. You don't have to prove yourselves. But I think it's the fun in the thing, to have some fun, to play around with it, to not feel like you're under a lot of pressure from a big broadcast company, network cable television show with all their rules, some of which are pretty, if you actually watched episode 98, last week's episode, you'd know there are a lot of rules. You can't have logos, you can't have the Walking Dead logo merchandise with signatures on it and stuff like that. It was something that Rachel told us yesterday. There's a lot of rules, so I would recommend actually watching that podcast. It's only about an hour long. You'll get some of the skinny on the behind the scenes to the Walking Dead Ultimate Fan competition, but we're not talking about that. If you want to drop your submission for our Ultimate Fan, it's not a competition yet, but an Ultimate Fan video, but it will be if enough people enter. Click the link in the description for the YouTube and Facebook videos, but also you can go to our website, squawkingdead.com. The call to action is right at the bottom. Are you the Ultimate Fan? Just click it. Now, tip, you don't have to record on the spot. There's a little cloud icon with an up arrow where you can upload a video, so you can produce a nicely well thought out video and have it ready for upload and then upload it. Now, there is, I think, about a 2-minute limit, though I think one person actually was able to upload a 4-minute and 50-second video, I believe. So, short and sweet is the game. But, reduce the quality settings to as much as possible so you don't go beyond the file limit. Other than that, the world is your oyster. Have fun with it. It's a challenge, but it's more of a creative challenge. And you know what? Or don't take it seriously. Submit something goofy, or however you want to submit it, or just say, hey, I'm the Ultimate Fan, and then just upload. And let's see what happens. If we get enough submissions by Monday, 3 a.m., it will be on. And we've got 3. Let's get some more. Anyway, now, if you've noticed, there's this little thing right here, and I haven't talked about it in a while. If you want to support our podcast, just head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. If you buy us a coffee during the stream, your message, a message will pop up saying that you gave us support during this stream. It's only going to be a 30-minute stream from this point on, so you have 30 minutes to get those coffees in. If you do, we will love you, and you will also be able to participate in the recording sessions to our podcasts, as well as receive bonus content and you'll be able to get the unedited versions of our podcasts. So, we give you something for it. And we often do exclusive activities for coffee backers, though we have suspended it in the meantime due to kind of lockdown. We want to kind of keep people entertained. Classically, we've done live watches of movies, like So Good It's Bad movies. We've also done game nights. We've opened that up to the public in the meantime, but in the future we will be locking them down a little bit. And the future's indeterminate since there's no vaccine. So anyway, if you want to support us, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. It costs less than a cup of coffee per month, or you can do it one time for 30 days of access. We'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. And without further ado, so I can get to you guys in the chat, here is episode 99. 99. And just to let you know, I will be on Instagram after the episode officially ends to answer any questions you might have, to talk about all the news from San Diego Comic-Con at home today, and also maybe even talk about Friday Night In with the Morgans. So, without further ado, here is episode 99, a little bit about me. So, cheers. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh. Other times we go deep. And today, I'm here with Mariana, our 3nom.com blogger, as she interviews me. We're going to turn the tables, and she's going to be interviewing me for what I do at 3nom. So it has nothing to do with The Walking Dead at all.
Ha ha
Probably.
ha.
So,
Who knows? Would it be the first time that we're getting info on you, your listeners?
A little bit.
Okay.
I tend to not talk about myself too much. Sometimes I'll bring in a story like that relates to The Walking Dead in some sort of way, like a story from my youth,
Right.
or like a problem I have at the office sometimes, and then find out ways to mitigate that in real life or on the show. So.
Well, great. I'm glad we'll get to show the other side of you. Now I want to know everything Walking Dead, but originally I came here to ask you, what did you do before, and what brought you to 3nom, and why in the world did you decide to stay?
That's a really good question, actually. The way I was brought on was I'd been working in IT since I was 13. I did some internships, summer internships with a computer-aided design company, or two, and then I worked freelance IT with another fellow technician who used to be the computer guy for my own personal computer, and then jumped on a bunch of freelance gigs. Was going to college, high school, college, and then eventually actually hooked up with Abe. Sometime after my college stint, Abraham Sasson. Mm-hmm. And he and I grew up together in New Jersey. Our parents were friends, and we were kind of outside the community bubble, which is usually in Brooklyn, New York, the Syrian Jewish community. We were the only two people we knew in New Jersey. So my mom, his mom, were really good friends. And so we kind of grew up together, and then eventually, fast forward, 20 years later, I'm in my 20s. I'm just getting off a job and heading to Abraham's brother's bar mitzvah at the time. And he found out why I was late. And it was because I was helping out with some sort of antivirus cleanup for a cousin of mine up in the Bronx. And he basically offered me the job. And this was with an old IT company that we were both part of. Mm-hmm. And then ever since then, we had this relationship. I stayed on that company for a number of years. And then eventually I moved to Chicago. I worked freelance for that company until things happened. And Abe eventually formed another company of his own. And he asked me to join on for a specific project. And it morphed into this relationship. And I stayed on ever since. I've been with the company since 2005. So it's rounding out to 15 years now.
obviously a long relationship is very important to find someone that you can, click with and work with for a long time. But what is it about IT that keeps you kind of in the area, in the field, and keeps you stimulated this whole time?
Because a lot of my position is solving problems or developing solutions to complex problems or technology scenarios that will help a client to advance. So if they need something pertaining to their business that's related to IT, it's kind of like solving a puzzle. And I've always, I don't know if this is just my personality, but I've always been attracted, or I've always been like a fixer. I've always, like an engineer, I've always taken things apart and put them back together better than they were before. And I've always kind of gravitated towards that idea. And so this position's kind of perfect for me, and I get to do that for multiple clients.
Let's get specific. Something fun and exciting that you have recently solved, or unexpected, or particularly impactful?
Honestly, the creative solutions that we've had to implement in order to mitigate some of the damage from a lot of the ransomware that we've been dealing with lately. When it comes to ransomware, obviously you can pay the ransom and take your chances, or you can restore from backup. There's a bunch of scenarios that you can implement. And in the last few, we've had to actually implement a mix of things. So we've created, take, for example, the first one that we've had to mitigate was one client. We had to actually take a mixed approach because you want to get the client up and running as fast as possible. So while we're restoring some files, we're creating a parallel environment where we restore whole servers, and then another environment with new servers. And the idea is really just to bring up things in parallel to see what gets the customer up faster. And sometimes you take a little bit of column A, column B, column C, and if you can get them up as fast as possible with minimal downtime, and at least get some services up so that they can continue working, I think that's where we excel. And some of that has to it draws upon all different kinds of skill levels in order to really maximize the restorability and the availability of the customer's assets. And again, pieces of the puzzle, but like now you're working in 3 dimensions. Like it's 3-dimensional chess that you're trying to advance. And it's not just me, obviously. Like we have the specialties of people like Avraham Lieberman, Abe Sasson rolls his sleeves up and helps us out also. He gets down and dirty. And, and so we're all involved, and then, you take a few texts from here, texts from there to kind of mitigate any of to be the firewall between you and the customer sometimes, or the individual employees of that customer. And so we all kind of work in tandem to try to support each other and lift each other up.
From the data I've heard, there's been a real surge in all different kinds of cyber attacks and stuff like that now, with everyone going to remote work, all the networks are not as secure, all that good stuff. And then people are being more anxious than ever and possibly prone to clicking on links that they didn't before. So which one would you say, for, if we think, a small, medium-sized business owner, what should they be the most vigilant about? Even
after dealing with some of the ransomware and cyber attacks that we've had to, we found out that a lot of the problem is actually customer passwords. When customer passwords are easy and you can run let's say what's called a rainbow table or something like that against them, and you can easily crack them with common passwords or just like random letters that actually end up working out. Or somehow they got the credentials from a site that's been compromised, like a credit card site or even a vendor site. Like just recently, I just got an email from, I think it was PayPal, that said that they were attacked again. And so if you're using the same passwords across different vendor sites or anything like that, and you happen to be using it for your corporate email or your corporate logon, it may be a good time to implement some sort of turnover, at least for your corporate passwords, or to personalize your corporate password somehow. Try to stay vigilant. We have solutions on the back end that we can use to make you change your password as well. But we always try to provide a mix between security and some sort of convenience. As a result, though, we've had to actually become a little bit more harder about credentials and security and try to reapproach it. And like you said before, emails, just making sure you don't click links that look fishy and weird from your colleagues, especially, but obviously from the outside as well.
Yeah. Those are great tips. And I like that 3NOM actually created the whole series of webinars on that. So I think those are a great free resource to learn more. I learned a lot of the things, and I consider myself reasonably tech savvy, at least for a non-coder. What is something unexpected that you learned while working at 3NOM? And I'm talking more about like life lessons rather than, work stuff necessarily.
It's a bit of a mix on a personal level, on a just a personal level. It's taught me to become more tolerant of other people's experiences. So as a technician, you can always get wrapped up in your own stress or your own attempt to resolve a client situation. But being in this business for so long, you develop like a tolerance level, like a patience quotient, let's say. And over time, things that would normally stress you out to like infinity, like you can kind of step back, take a breath and go, this customer is having a bad day. And so it's on you to not only be the person that's going to solve the problem, but also is going to hold their hand and guide them through the situation. And that ends up becoming an asset because it may or may not be the case that you can fix whatever problem they have, although most of the times that's going to be the case. But sometimes you have to tell them it's taking longer than expected, or I have to call in this person or that person, or I have to contact a resource or vendor or software developer or whatever to solve this problem. And you have to be that voice of reason. And just on not a personal level as much, I think I've gotten to be also tolerant of other people's viewpoints politically or socially, or, whereas I'll say I'm pro-choice. I can respect the opinions of somebody who's pro-life, things like that, and I can see their point of view. And it's literally, it's like a skill that I didn't know I had until I sat down and really realized, we all have our boundaries and limits and beliefs, and it's on me to kind of be able to at least listen and then discuss and, find ways to either part ways or, and be okay with that. And so it's a really serious skill level to learn in a globally connected internet age.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's very rare.
I'm wondering if there's something in particular about 3NOM's, say, like way of work or approach to projects or something that contributes a lot to the success of those projects that you can highlight.
I think this is something Abe might have brought up. It's the ability to receive options. We can give you the soup to nuts, Rolls Royce treatment when it comes to how to approach a particular customer demand, but we'll also give you the kind of solution that'll match your budget / the kind of solution that makes the most sense for you. Like, so we'll give you the high end, we'll give you the low end, and then there are a few gray middle areas that we can give you. And that's something that you learn over time. Like I think we started off trying to be more penny wise for our customers. And then eventually, and this kind of loops back to security, eventually sometimes you do have to be a little bit more aggressive about emphasizing the need for security or the need for best practices to give them a solution where, and it's unfortunate, and it's weird to say it's unfortunate because most companies do not do that. Most companies will shoot higher and maybe not even meet in the middle to the customer's needs or the customer's, budget, let's say. And so it's funny to say I feel bad doing that, but this is the culture and nature, is to always look out for the customer's best interest, but also realize the limitations we have to work with sometimes. It's kind of a tug of war, but it's one that we have internally. And
right.
It's a skill. It's an art, actually, in a way, that you kind of learn over time.
Let's now talk about what makes you successful. So do you have any rituals, hacks, routines that help you stay productive, particularly now in the remote work, but also in general, just kind of gets those creative juices flowing, like you were saying?
I actually listen to a lot of stimulating podcasts, ranging from a variety of topics, be it cultural, political, and from all various sources too. So people who are talking about certain things that, we don't often talk about or dive deep into, but also like things like this is really nutty, but things like science also, scientific breakthroughs, scientific phenomenon, and then also ranges to The Walking Dead. And also, I'm a huge fan of the Legend of Zelda series. So all of that, I listen to all that throughout the day. Usually on YouTube. It's going to be like 99.999% on YouTube. So I'll listen to that while I'm remotely working or working on a project. And sometimes I have to stop it if I have to read like a tech article or a project manual or something like that, because it's a little hard to concentrate, if you're trying to get procedures done. But yeah, things like that. But also on my off time, I do a podcast that breaks down episodes of the Walking Dead universe. And then things that surround that culturally, topically.
What are some of the recent scientific or something like that stuff that not many people know of that maybe blew your mind a little bit?
Well, the fact that we haven't had a space launch in a very, very long time until Elon Musk did it recently. There's that. Well, because of how we have superbugs, viruses and bacteria and stuff like that, there are advents that are being made where we can program certain cells to actually, and this will revolutionize cancer research. I can't remember exactly what they're called though. A certain type of cell that you can pre-program, basically, detect and destroy all types of sicknesses and stuff like that, rather than using antibiotics and having to reintroduce different kinds of new antibiotics. It'll basically kill the invasive bacteria and stuff like that. And this also helps with things like screws from surgery and things like that. Because over time you have to replace them because your body starts rejecting them. And so introducing this type of cell that you can pre-program, you can clean it up and tell the body, no, this is a good thing. Don't attack it. Don't reject it. So scientists are still trying to figure out how to use and harness the particulars on that, on how to cure diseases, anything ranging from the modern superbug to, trying to keep it away from healthy appendages and screws and things like that.
I keep thinking if I should talk about Walking Dead now or later.
You can save it at the end.
Where's a good plug? Did your routine change at all since you've moved home? Kind of work day routine?
Oh, like you wouldn't think, because most of my work is remote. I mean, almost all of my work is remote.
Right.
And so I've been able to work from home, ever since the beginning, but, well, not the beginning, but we made a transition. We used to be a company that would go out to the client and work directly on the servers that needed to be worked on at the client site. And this changed over time, not rapidly, probably roughly around 2009, 2010. We started emphasizing the idea of our technicians being able to work remotely purely. And it's rare when we have to send somebody on site. But even lately, it would be a mixture of me coming to the office and then working from home, alternating days sometimes. And we've made it more, and the odd part is that just before this pandemic hit, we were making a best effort to meet at the office to kind of gain a sense of like, we're all here and we're all working together and we can all call each other, just walk into the next room and work on a solution together, or just being there and being sociable and getting a sense of connectivity to our team. And then when this hit, we were all set to work remotely. And so the big change has been like, now I'm working from home every day and I'm starting to notice a difference in life. what it takes to stay healthier, what it takes to connect with our team. Like we're on Zoom a little bit more often than we've ever been. And it used to be, we just called, the conference line extension, and we would talk, but now we kind of want to see each other. We want to hear each other, just so we could stay connected mentally.
That is definitely a challenge and very, very important.
More important than we thought.
Indeed. Yeah, and I hear all different versions of it. I hear that someone feels like they actually find this maybe like more time for themselves in this different paradigm, and more time to get stuff done. And others, like you said, like how do we connect? How do we get on the same page? So I think all of us are learning a lot of the things about ourselves and how we work. So it could be a good reflective moment too.
Yeah. We're social animals, right? So
yeah,
it's been a test. It's been a real test.
What does a small business needs to know and understand about their, IT and technology to really be successful?
That's a tough one because we really make it easy. I think, I don't know if you've heard this from the others, but the best IT is really when you don't know it's there. Basically, you do run the risk of, perhaps infantilizing your customers, where you make it so easy that they don't need to know anything, and then they trust you. And that's always a good thing. But at least on my part, I try to explain technicals. So anything we implement, I try to give the best, most relatable understanding of what they're getting into, what the pitfalls are, what we could be doing better if we had a better budget, let's say, all the things around it, so that they know what they're getting into. We don't enforce trust by fiat. So it's more like we want the customer to be 100% comfortable, even if they are comfortable. And hopefully this will inspire them to ask questions. And maybe that is the answer. You should not be afraid to ask questions. And if an IT provider can't even answer the most basic questions, then they're not really the kind of partner, because that's essentially what it'll come down to, the partner that you want to really involve yourself with. Because that's essentially what you're doing as a managed service provider. You are basically simplifying their technology in a way that will help them adapt to present day dilemmas. So you're implementing solutions that will help them bring them into, let's say, the 21st century, let's say. And so in order to do that, they need to really understand at least the concepts that you're bringing to the table that are helping them, and that to inspire them to basically ask the right questions. And you'll even find that some customers will ask questions that you never thought that they would, had you not helped them or ease them into the process, that they would even think to ask certain questions. And then actually, when you do that, it leads to even better solutions, because then they know exactly kind of what is possible and maybe what is not possible that you can create.
As a business owner myself, sometimes you kind of don't know what you're doing at all when it comes to technology, especially if you grow past the level of just using whatever free tools are available, and feel like you start needing some sort of CRM. What?
What is that?
What do I do? And if you're not really tech savvy, reading all those, the million sites, you can Google it, but then reading and what is the difference? What am I paying for? What exactly am I paying for? What do I need to consider?
Yeah, it's like having a Swiss Army knife with hundreds and hundreds of attachments that you may or may not even need. And you may only use 5.
Not even know what they are.
Exactly. And especially when you mentioned CRM, that is, I mean, even on our end, because it's not all technological. Sometimes CRM solutions throw so much at you that you don't even, because it has to do a lot with productivity. And in the world of IT, sometimes you just need to get it done. And so it's not always in our toolkit to know what it takes to be productive in terms of content management. So when you see certain tools from a CRM, it can be imposing. And I can only imagine what that's like for the average user. Like we'll know some of the operations that CRM can do to kind of automate our lives. So we'll have a better understanding on that end. But like for the average customer, it's just out of this world. It's like an alien language.
And then oftentimes you have to kind of adapt your workflow to whatever that thing dictates, which is when, you know, custom automations and custom development might come in very well, especially if you're a business that's been doing something for a while and have your processes, and then you don't want to go and change it all because now this tool tells you that you have to do things this way versus this other way.
And it's kind of like what we do on a day-to-day basis. Like you have your Windows servers, or you have your Mac workstations, or you have your Linux servers, or whatever it is, with endless possibilities of what you can do with it. And we have sort of best practices that we can slot everything into that makes sense for you. And so we've already taken out the guesswork for most avenues of most businesses. And so we have like ideas of how to utilize these servers to your advantage. And so we take the world of possibilities and narrow the field a little bit so that it makes sense for you.
If there was one thing that you think that all businesses, you know, smaller, medium-sized businesses need to really consider investing in right now, what would you say, or, you know, in the next 6 months, what is that thing?
As of now, they're investing in remote desktop solutions. So let's take that off the table. More backup is always better. It costs money, but at the end of the day, you don't want to not have it. And things like that, but also things like staying on top of, and with the help of your managed service provider, staying on top of cutting edge antivirus or anti-malware solutions. And I stress managed service providers because they will have certain antivirus tools that may not be available on a consumer level.
Right.
Like you can go with your McAfee's and your Symantec's and all that, but at the end of the day, there are like artificial intelligence solutions that can help you go beyond the scope of what a normal antivirus will do without all the clutter that consumer antivirus has baked in. And again, goes back to overwhelming. Like you'll open a McAfee antivirus and you see all these options.
Now I want to know more about this.
Yeah, we're investing a lot more in like artificial intelligence antivirus solutions. So and take, for example, like a ransomware attack starts happening, and the antivirus itself will start to see that this is abnormal behavior. I think I'm going to shut this down, you know? And so it'll think ahead, and it'll start to anticipate certain behaviors. So it's like learned behavior antivirus. So it doesn't, so extends a little bit outside the realm of antivirus a little bit into like normal operating behaviors.
Very cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't either until like a few months ago. I mean, this is, you know, it's emerging as a result of what's been happening.
In which way is Walking Dead series similar to working at 3.0?
Okay, so to try to simplify, it kind of really does go back to why we are who we are. It goes to the pandemic a little bit too, but like we are our best when we are cooperating. Humanity emerged, the modern man emerged from their ability to cooperate with one another. And so in that, like a lot of that occurs in The Walking Dead. Like you need to come together in order to survive. And this is how they defeated the Neanderthals way back. This is why, because they were stronger, they were better, they had better sight in the dark, etc. But when we worked together with our limited physical attributes, we were able to overcome them. And so The Walking Dead has that in spades. When you actually do try to work together as a community, you can survive. And so I don't know how that applies to a work environment, but I do think that what we tend to do is, in our company at least, is we do try to distribute the talent across multiple technicians. So we do try to make available or make use of those talents wherever possible, because and this can happen, and it happens every once in a while in our company too, is that sometimes we do tax a specific resource, aka a person. And it can tend to be that, like, when you rely on a certain, or you depend on a certain person or, their talents to approach a situation, and you tax it too much, well, things don't get done. And so what we try to do in our company is to try to nurture specific talents, or to train users in certain best practices to kind of alleviate the stress on any given technician, so that you have a range of technicians that can handle certain situations better than others. I mean, most of them are trained the same way, and a kind of an organic show of talent will emerge naturally. And so you'll see that happen. And it can be anywhere, like where, these 2 or 3 technicians can be relied on a specific solution, or this technician will mostly be in touch with a particular customer with a particular nuance in terms of an application or something like that. So it tends to organically gravitate to where it needs to go, and you see magic happen.
So I don't think I've seen a single episode of Walking Dead. What would be your pitch to me to watch the show?
You would think that the show is about zombies.
Right.
But the show really is about showing the range of the best and the worst of us. Because the tagline of the show is really like, we are the Walking Dead. It's not really the zombies that are the Walking Dead. We are them. So who are we now? It's kind of like a show of who we really are at our base level, and then who we become as a result. So if this were to happen, it would really test our limits. Who you are before almost doesn't even matter anymore. All those skills can be handy, but it tends to be that you become who you were really meant to be. Because none of the nonsense of the day-to-day of what we do, like in tech, really ends up mattering. It's who we become afterwards that really counts. And you can't pretend, and you can't fake your way. You can fake your way to a point in the apocalypse, but you can't. There's a limit. And it to see that come out in each character is really fascinating. And of course, there's gore, a little bit of gore, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Of course.
But to see how things start to shape up, or shape out in the apocalypse, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, especially now living through like a rehearsal.
Yeah, the lamest apocalypse ever.
A possible, very lame, very kind of it's like, let's go through the lines, but just holding the paper in front of us.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of apocalypse.
It doesn't make for compelling television. Let's put it that way.
No, that probably will be boring. But wait, they'll give them 10 years. They'll turn the 2020 will be a show on television that will.
Oh my God. Can you imagine all that footage? Just garbage.
I'm done. I think that's a good point to wrap up. Thank you. That was very, very fun.